The occupation of universities continues. Sort of. At NYU, they tried setting up another liberation zone for Gaza, and the police ended up going in and arresting 150 people the other day. We also saw mass arrests at Yale. Things are getting particularly interesting as the new summer of love heats up. And the strange thing about this is that this one's probably going to help Donald Trump win. You've got thousands of college students taking over the grounds at various universities. We're seeing protests at MIT, Yale, NYU, Columbia, and actually there's a couple more. I think I've got the video right here. Let me see. What is this one? This is State Polytechnic University. People are barricading doors. They are attempting to create liberated or autonomous zones or occupations or whatever you want to call it. I just want to point out the irony and the hilarity of anti-Israel protesters screaming "end the occupation" while literally forming occupations on property that is public and shared by or owned by others. But no one ever accused these people of having any idea what they're actually trying to do. But of course, you may have seen the big news, and there's been a lot of controversy around this. There is one funny viral video where a woman's wearing a shirt that says Jew on it and no one cares. But then there are other videos where a guy tried walking through Yale campus who happens to be wearing clothes that identifies him as a Jewish guy, and they block him and they won't let him in. I think the big thing we're seeing here, young people have no idea what is going on with Israel, with Palestine. It has become the cause. And I gotta say, I'm genuinely confused. We got the summer of love in 2020. This is the George Floyd protests. People are going around, they're smashing windows, they're fighting in the streets. They were livid. And this was really bad for Black Lives Matter supporters. However, it was a rallying cry that typically many on the left and Democrats did not want to oppose. They kind of liked it. Basically, the idea was peaceful protests, mostly peaceful protests, were just fine. And, well, Democrats could get behind this. Now, the reality is the summer of love was still massively detrimental to Black Lives Matter. After the killing of George Floyd, you had this massive burst of support for Black Lives Matter. And then as the riots kicked off, support tanked. You can see that over at Civiqs, CIVIQS.com, and they're polling with Black Lives Matter. But now, here's where it gets interesting. We're having this massive conflict in the Middle East. Once again, I should pause and say, we've been entrenched in conflict in the Middle East for 100 plus years. There you go. How about that one? But recently, you've got Iran and Israel exchanging missile fire. Now, Iran says, no, it never happened. They don't want to escalate. But sure, we are dangerously close to an international confrontation. Russia says the U.S. better not intervene on Israel's behalf. Otherwise, they will intervene on Iran's behalf. And oh, boy, we do not want that to happen. There's a lot of other things happening at the same time. But the fascinating thing is, overwhelmingly in the United States right now, people support Israel. I say overwhelmingly, but the majority of people are pro-Israel. You've got probably the majority of Republicans, not the MAGA base. I don't know if the MAGA base is majority in favor of Israel, but most Republicans and most Democrats. I do think it's generational, however. I think 20 to 40 years from now, Israel will have no support if this trend is what continues, which suggests to me Donald Trump is going to win in November. The reason being, this massive unrest that we're seeing at all these universities, where they're outright saying they don't like Israel and the occupation. There's a video of a woman screaming, "We are Hamas." Like, it's crazy the stuff that some of these people are chanting, "Long live Hamas." There's an Arabic slogan they're chanting that says Palestine is Arab or something like that, which is basically like, the left says from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. But in Arabic, they just say the whole country is Arabic. It means something a bit different. I don't see this going the same way as BLM. With Black Lives Matter, you had moderate liberals being like, but we oppose racism. So this is for justice. What now? Many moderates are going to say, but Israel's our ally. Democrats are massively in support of Israel. The deep state is between a rock and a hard place. Now, to be fair, Democrats love waving Ukraine flags. They want to fund Israel, Ukraine, and the MAGA Republicans in Congress do not want to fund either. So I have to imagine right now the deep state, is currently, sitting in their office being like, guys, what do we do? We're not going to get the votes of these leftists who hate Israel. And the right doesn't want to fund foreign war, but they're actually still recognize Israel's existence and its right to defend itself. Vivek Ramaswamy made this point that Israel can defend itself. It exists, but, they can pay for it. So who do you back? I can't imagine. And far be it from me to know actually what's going on behind the scenes. But I feel like if you're an intelligence agency right now and you're concerned about the conflict in Israel and you want to support Israel, you can't go with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is trying to court leftists who won't vote for him. To be fair, you may be thinking, yeah, we literally don't care who supports what. The Democrats, no matter who votes for them, will always turn around and support Israel. In which case, yeah, it may then go to Joe Biden, I suppose. The funny thing about AOC is that she's this radical progressive leftist. She's very critical of Israel. She gets elected and then she's, it's a very nuanced issue, I suppose. Do you suppose? That'll be interesting. Here's the big news from ABC. 150 arrested at New York University amid pro-Palestinian protests, NYPD says. Protesters on Monday broke through barriers at Gold Plaza, the school said, or is it Gould? I don't know. More than 150 people were arrested at NYU on Monday night, police said, as pro-Palestinian protests spread on college campuses throughout the country. This is it. It was not Occupy Wall Street. Occupy University, anti-Israel. It's kind of like Occupy Wall Street, but I love that the occupiers oppose occupation. Students, faculty, and others were arrested after school officials asked the New York Police Department to help clearing a plaza on NYU's Manhattan campus, police said. Many of those arrested were still being processed through the night, and most, if not all, will be released. Why would any of them not be released? This is New York. I'll be honest. If they actually hold any of these far leftists, I will be very surprised. In fact, I'd go out and buy a lottery ticket. That seems like a rare event, a sign of something to come. The arrests came days after more than 100 people, including many students, were arrested at Columbia University. Protests have grown at other schools, including Yale, since the Israel-Hamas war began in October. Quote, there's a pattern of behavior occurring on campuses across our nation in which individuals attempt to occupy a space in defiance of school policy. Gaz Daughtry, the NYPD's deputy commissioner for operations, said in a social media post. Rest assured, in NYC, the NYPD stands ready to address these prohibited and subsequently illegal actions whenever we are called upon. Protesters at NYU on Monday broke through barriers that had been set up around Gold Plaza, a square outside the Stern School of Business, the school's global campus safety department said in a statement. Officials warned those who entered the square on Monday that they needed to clear the plaza by 4 p.m. Quote, if you leave now, no one will face any consequences for today's actions. No discipline, no police, safety officials said in a message delivered to those in the plaza. That message was also shared in the university's official social media channels. The one safety requirement we made was that no additional protesters could enter Gold Plaza. With the breach of the barricades earlier this afternoon, that requirement was violated, and we witnessed disorderly, disruptive, and antagonizing behavior that has interfered with the safety and security of our community. NYU officials appealed to the NYPD for help, according to a letter shared by Daughtry. Look, I just got to say, I think we're winning the culture war. A bunch of these students at Columbia got suspended. We'll see if they get expelled. I mean, look. If your customers are outside protesting, you got to get rid of them. But well, if they're inside protesting, because it's like they're on the property, but you still want their money. So we'll see what exactly happens with Columbia, because I doubt Columbia is going to be like, please take your money and never come back. The customer is always right. Here we go. We have this from the Washington Post. Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters arrested at Yale and NYU. So Yale also saw these very large arrests. But this is where it gets interesting. Raw's Alerts has this from last night. Police in riot gear as pro-Palestinian protesters have barricaded and taken over a building at a state polytechnic university in California. Currently, multiple law enforcement officers are equipped in riot gear and have shields after dozens of pro-Palestine protesters have taken over a building at California State Polytechnic University in Arcata, California. They have fully barricaded the entrance with desk chairs and other items from inside the building, attempting to prevent law enforcement who are equipped in riot gear from entering in with items being thrown. This is still a developing situation. Okay, I want to break this down for you and explain to you what they're doing. Okay, here you have these protesters, and they are barricading themselves in a building. I ask you, good friends, why? What will this accomplish? All right, let's, look, they got more footage. Here we go. Footage earlier showing dozens of pro-Palestine protesters blocking the entrance. What will this accomplish? So, I'll keep it simple for you. Let's see. I bought a guitar, and I plugged the guitar into a computer, and I played sounds on that guitar. I recorded those sounds, and then we take those sounds, arrange them in different ways, and adjust them to make adding filters to make pleasant sounds, and then we publish that for you to hear. What is the goal with this? Oh boy, I could break down all of our cultural endeavor goals. Let's talk about Cast Brew Coffee in Martinsburg. So go to castbrew.com, buy our coffee, support the coffee shop. We have a physical location in Martinsburg, West Virginia. It's going to be open in a couple months. We're really excited. Hopefully things are moving along. Second floor, private club. What's the goal? Physical location where people can hang out, share ideas, and network. Why? When they do, they start to build things. This has a positive impact on our communities. It makes the grass grow greener and the flowers bloom brighter. Why? When people come together and focus on problems together and then come up with ideas, we build things that improve things. You see, that's 1 + 1 = 2. I can tell you exactly how it works. Then we make more money as people exchange money for goods and services. And then we build more locations and build more community hubs where people can come together, meet, make friends, and strengthen the bonds of community, which results in us, once again, working together to fix the roads, fix the buildings. You see, it's all about community. Now, my question here for these protesters barricading the doors is, what will this accomplish? So they barricade the doors of the university. The police then bang on those doors. What is the outcome of this? They will be arrested. I mean, for real, there is no outcome in any way that impacts Israel or Palestine. It's nothing. I guess they want press attention, which will then signal to politicians, okay, and those politicians will do what the intelligence agencies tell them to do. Okay, I guess. More importantly, don't take my word for it. Let me play for you this video where 3 women do a musicless dance for some reason. I mean, that's cool. It's fine. I got no beef. They're dancing and they're synchronized, so they worked really hard on it. I can respect that. It's entertaining. They're clapping. Why? Dude, art's always allowed. Art's always okay. If you want to do a dance, if you want to make music, if you want to do this stuff, that's fine. But these people are just musicless clap dancing in the middle of a field. They worked really hard on that. What is the fruit of that labor? Are we supposed to imagine that people will be inspired by this? I got to be honest. I've been to a lot of these protests and stuff like this. I can respect and I believe in the importance of people trying things, right? And so if you don't really know what to do, and so this is what you do, then I can respect it. If everybody tried something and 99% of everything they try fails, but 1% succeeds, well, it's because people try weird things. So again, I can respect it. But my point here is it is aimless. There is no end game. They have no idea what they're doing. This is just mindless and nonsensical. Now, I'll tell you what really is worrying. A mob of students shouting "Viva, Viva Palestina," tearing down the American flag, dropping it to the ground, and putting up a Palestinian flag on the flagpole. Now, that's where it gets freaky. I can tell you what the goal is there and why they're doing what they're doing. They are seizing land, seizing territory, and trying to put up their cult as the influence. Now, let me tell you, they turn on American flags all the time, and that does nothing. They just hate America. But they literally do. I mean, it's funny. It's funny how, growing up, you have Fox News being like, they hate America. I'm like, yeah. Okay. I think it was Jeremy Boring said something about if you don't believe the moon landing happened or you believe 9/11 was an inside job, you hate America. And I'm like, I don't really have the strongest opinions. I don't 100% disagree. I don't think you hate America. I think, you're allowed to criticize and question America, but the moon landing and claiming Bush did 9/11 are particularly weird things. But to say that means you hate America is kind of silly. But these people hate America. They really do. They really genuinely hate it. Well, you reap what you sow. From the New York Post, billionaires led by Robert Kraft stop cash for Colombia and call anti-Israel mob effing crazy. Well, there you go. The end result, all of these powerful, wealthy individuals who are screaming, Orange Man bad, well, they're going to be screaming, go Orange Man. Because what are you going to do? You're going to prop up the anti-Israel faction, or are you going to side with at least Donald Trump, who says he's the most pro-Israel president ever? I don't think he is, but I certainly think he's pro-Israel. And so there's going to be a lot of anti-interventionists who don't like that. But Trump is not it's funny because people call these members of Congress and others MAGA Republicans. And, the thing about it is Trump isn't really a MAGA Republican. Trump is on the cusp of uniparty and MAGA Republican. And it's really true. Marjorie Taylor Greene goes hard. She's like, we're not funding this stuff. No way. Mike Johnson bad. Donald Trump goes, Mike Johnson's pretty good, working with him. And, Israel needs our support. And it's funny because people love Trump. He pushes back. And I think it's because you're slightly net positive with Trump. But after Trump is when it's going to get interesting, because Steve Bannon mentioned this. Bannon says Trump's a moderate. You ain't seen nothing yet. And after Trump is gone, this ain't changing. It's generational. This is something that people don't realize. Maybe, I can't tell you why they don't realize it, but let me tell you. Generational influence. Young people develop a worldview, and then they're 15 or 16 years old, and that track for their worldview is a roller coaster. Then they're 20, and you're very unlikely to change it. Or I should say it's very, very difficult to shift someone off a 20-year development worldview. So here we have a young generation of far leftists. They trust the far left. They want the far left. 10 years ago, 2014, you had an 8-year-old watching, Facebook videos. And he starts seeing, at 8. And his kids shouldn't be on it, but we know they are. He's seeing these videos. He's seeing this news. He's absorbing it. 5 years later, he's 13. We're talking 2019. 13 years old. And he's now watching more and more of these videos. Israel bad, Israel bad, Israel bad. And he's going I don't understand why people are supporting Israel. I see all these videos saying it's bad. 5 years later, 2024. He is now 18, and he will now vote. And he's going to vote against Israel. And he's going to go to his university, and he's going to protest against Israel. People don't realize this. It's generational. That 18-year-old who is surrounded by a bunch of other like-minded individuals all screaming Israel bad are going to vote against Israel when they're 30, 40, 50, 60. So where are we right now? These older guys who are I'm cutting money from Colombia. This could be big, but you ain't changing the younger generation. And with Gen Z and millennials on TikTok making videos and the boomers and Gen X not so much, guess what? Gen Alpha is going to get a same dose of that medicine. This is the churn. So right now with boomers, some silent generation, and Gen X, generally in support of Israel, Israel will get funded. But what happens when the deep state can do nothing to secure the victory of any politician? I mean, pro-Israel. You're going to get some, neo-lib or uniparty Republican, and the deep state's going to be like, these people have to win. And then outside, the entirety of the congressional district is saying, no, we don't support Israel. You're going to get one crackpot far leftist is going to say, end the occupation. And the deep state's going to be like, there's no amount of ballots you could manufacture to do anything about it. More importantly, the deep state itself will be inherited by anti-Israel people. And there you go. Then what do you do? That's it. So I estimate 20 to 40 years, with the young generation either being influenced by shows like this, Timcast IRL or Crowder or Styx and Viva Frei, anti-intervention is winning. We do, and it's the fault of George W. Bush. It's the fault of these Iraq and Afghanistan. These are failures. They've never justified. In fact, the opposite. They tried, and now it's all bunk. So we grow up and we say, you have never justified why we spend money over there and not here. We have not secured our border. We have not protected our homes. We do not even pay our veterans enough. We don't take care of the people who actually do those jobs. So why would we spend money over there? They haven't given us an answer. So the end result is a generation of people who just say, yeah, sorry, we ain't spending the money. So what happens? Well, Robert Kraft and others can cut money all they want. The younger generation on the right is going to say, look, we just don't want to spend money over there. The younger generation on the left is going to say, we actually want them to fail. So the end result is simple. 20 to 40 years. We're there. I mean, look, I'm 38. So when I'm 58, when I'm an old man, when I'm 60 or 70, and I'm saying we shouldn't be spending money over there, there's going to be a lot of young people who are going to be like, duh. It's going to be crazier than even we think. As the older generations age out, it is not a question of convincing anyone. The convincing has already happened. That being said, who are you going to convince? Some deranged far leftist? You could. You really could. People can change. Or are you going to target young people? We'll see how this goes. If big tech starts heavily banning these leftist protesters, if prosecutors start actually holding them and arresting them, that might actually change things, curtailing their message and making it impossible for them to speak and share their ideas. Perhaps then the younger generation won't see it. That's why they want to ban TikTok, because TikTok is telling 13-year-olds Israel bad. And those 13-year-olds are going to vote in 5 years. And they're going to vote Israel bad in 5 years. And you don't really got to worry about the youth vote. They don't really care or turn out anyway. But those views will be held within them. It will be commonplace, and no one wants to be shunned. So by the time they're 30, we're talking 17 years. Now they're adamantly anti-Israel, either because of anti-intervention or because leftist indoctrination and now they're pro-Palestine. Unless, of course, the deep state wants all this to happen. You know, I can't tell you. I don't know. Maybe the intelligence agencies aren't a monolith. There's just rogue factions and they all kind of do what they want to do. Maybe the end game is they want Israel to fail. They want the U.S. to fail. They want the Western machine to collapse and for China to take over. Trudeau says he loved it. Maybe that's just it. Well, I suppose we'll just have to do our best, resist ourselves, fight for what we believe in, and then see how it goes. Welcome to the new studio, ladies and gentlemen. The cameras are way better. We're still working out the kinks. There's a little bit of an echo, so we got to fix that. But all you can do is set up, get started, and then start working out the bugs. So become a member at timcast.com if you want to support our work. Maybe we'll get banned. You know, YouTube nuked 2 of our biggest episodes. Buy coffee from castbrew.com. And the next segment will be up at 1 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all then.